Welcome to Eliminating Caregiver Chaos, the podcast where we stop pretending caregiving is just about tasks and start dealing with the real weight you're carrying, the emotional one. I'm DJ Castilleja, and I help family caregivers stop drowning in guilt, resentment, and burnout by teaching them how to actually process their emotions instead of pushing them down and just hoping for the best. Now, before we dive in, I want to remind you, this podcast is designed specifically for you, the caregiver on the go. Whether you're driving to yet another doctor's appointment, folding laundry, prepping meals, or stealing a few quiet minutes in your car before you walk back into the chaos, I've got you. You don't need to sit down with a notebook or be in the perfect headspace. Just listen. Let this sink in while you do what you need to do. Today, we're continuing our series on the common mistakes caregivers make with their emotions. We've already talked about minimizing emotions and suppressing emotions. Today, we're hitting the third one. And honestly, this one might be the sneakiest of them all. We're talking about trying to solve your emotions with logic. Let's dive in. Okay, so here's the scenario. You're having a hard day. Your loved one has repeated the same question 17 times before noon, and you snap at them. Now you feel guilty. And what do you do with that guilt? You start reasoning with yourself. I shouldn't feel this way. I'm doing the best I can. Other people have it way worse than me. At least they're still here. I should be grateful. If I just stay positive, I'll feel better. This guilt doesn't make sense. I haven't done anything wrong. Do those sound familiar? This is the third big mistake caregivers make, and I call it the sneakiest one because it actually feels like you're doing the right thing. It feels mature. It feels responsible. It feels like you're managing yourself well. But here's the truth. You're not managing your emotions. You're arguing with them. And here's what nobody tells you. Emotions don't respond to arguments. They aren't math problems. They don't yield to formulas or logic or pep talks. You cannot outthink grief. You cannot rationalize guilt into silence. You cannot argue anger into submission. Emotions live in the heart, not the head. Think about it this way. Trying to fix your feelings with logic is like pouring water on a fire that's fueled by oil. It looks like it should help. Water puts out fires, right? But when the fire is oil-based, water doesn't smother it. It spreads it. The flames go wider. The situation gets worse. That's exactly what happens when you try to reason your way out of emotional experience. The more you argue with the feelings, the louder and more persistent they become. They don't go away, they demand to be felt. And here's the deeper problem. When the logic doesn't work, when you've told yourself, I shouldn't feel this way 6 times and you still feel it, what happens next? You turn that frustration on yourself. Now you're just sad, angry, or guilty. You're also frustrated with yourself for not being able to just snap out of it. There's a second layer of shame sitting on top of that original emotion. You've doubled your load, not halved it. Now, here's what I really want you to hear because this part is important. This isn't just something you do to yourself. The people around you do it too, and they mean well. They love you. They want to help, but they fall into the exact same trap. Think about the last time someone tried to encourage you as a caregiver. What did they say? Well, at least your loved one is still here. You're so strong, you'll get through this. Don't feel guilty. You're doing everything you can. Try to stay positive. Just focus on the good moments. Think about how much worse it could be. Now, their hearts are in the right place. They genuinely want you to feel better. But notice what every single one of those statements is doing. They're aiming logic at an emotional wound. At least your loved one is still here is a fact. It's true. But it doesn't touch the grief you're feeling. It doesn't hold the exhaustion. It misses the mark. It doesn't acknowledge the complexity of loving someone who is slowly disappearing right in front of you. And instead of feeling supported, what do you actually feel? Dismissed? Unheard? Like your feelings don't have a place at this table. That's not because those people are bad or wrong. It's because emotions can't be healed with information. When someone is bleeding, you don't explain to them why they shouldn't be bleeding. You address the wound. When someone is drowning, you don't remind them of all the reasons to swim. You throw them a lifeline. Emotions need to be met, not corrected. And caregivers get this constantly from family, from friends, from doctors, social workers, even pastors. Everyone has a logical reframe ready for you. Everyone wants to help you feel better faster, but faster isn't the same as healed. Here's what I want you to understand about why we do this, why we do it to ourselves, and why the people around us do it too. Logic feels safer than emotion. When you're feeling something intense, grief, anger, fear, guilt, it's uncomfortable. It's messy. It doesn't resolve quickly. And for most of us, sitting in that discomfort feels dangerous. So we reach for reasoning because it gives us the illusion of control. If I can explain this feeling away, I won't have to sit in it. If I can think my way past it, I can stay in charge. But that's an illusion. It doesn't last. And every time it fails, the emotional weight gets just a little bit heavier. So if logic doesn't work, if reasoning your way through feelings just makes them louder, then what does work? And here's the truth that changed everything for me in how I coach caregivers. Only emotion can heal emotion. Let that sink in for a second. Only emotions can heal emotions. Sadness needs to be felt and expressed before peace can come. You can't think your way to peace. You have to grieve your way there. Anger needs acknowledgement before it can soften into understanding. You can't argue anger away. You have to let it be named, heard, and released. Guilt needs to be spoken out loud before it can loosen its grip, not reasoned away, spoken, felt, acknowledged. This is a simple principle that I use in my grief support. When someone is grieving, I need to be present grieving with them, grief upon grief. And when someone is happy and celebrating, you celebrate with them. This is actually a biblical principle. Mourn with those who mourn, rejoice with those who rejoice. Healing comes from leaning into the feeling, not fighting against it with logic. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. DJ, are you telling me I just need to cry more, fall apart, let my emotions run wild? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. There's a big difference between being consumed by your emotions and giving them the space to move through you. Think about it like waves in the ocean. If you're standing in the surf and a wave comes at you, you have a choice. You can tense up, brace yourself, and fight it, and it knocks you down anyway, maybe even harder. Or you can stay loose, let the wave move through you, move with the wave, and you come out standing on the other side. Emotions work the same way. When you stop resisting, when you let a feeling rise, crest, and pass, it actually moves. It completes its cycle. The intensity eases. There's room to breathe again. But when you fight the wave with logic, when you tell yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this way, I need to think my way out of it, you stay stuck in the undertow. The wave doesn't pass, it just keeps pulling at you. So, what does this actually look like to give emotions space instead of arguing with them? It comes down to three simple steps. First, you have to name it. Put a word on what you're feeling. Not I'm stressed or I'm fine. Get specific. I'm grieving. I'm resentful. I'm scared. I'm exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Naming an emotion is not the same as drowning in it. It's the first step toward releasing it. The second step is feel it. Give it a moment. You don't need an hour, even 2 minutes of honestly sitting with a feeling without trying to reason it away or fix it begins to move it. Let your body feel what it feels. Let your eyes water if they need to. Let the tightness in your chest just be there for a moment without fighting it. The third step is to let it pass. Emotions are temporary, every single one of them. When you stop resisting, they rise, peak, and dissolve. The grief doesn't disappear forever, but the wave of it passes. And after it passes, you have more capacity, more space, more room to breathe. This is the work, not positive thinking, not logical reframes. Now, let me bring this home to caregiving specifically, because this isn't abstract. This has real consequences for you and for the person you're caring for. When you try to logic your way through caregiving emotions, you don't just fail to heal, you fill up your emotional capacity faster. And we're going to talk more about this upcoming in the future. Every unprocessed emotion is sitting in there, taking up the capacity you have to feel. Every feeling you've reasoned away instead of actually felt is still in there waiting. And when the cup is full, when you are at the max of your capacity, that's when burnout happens. But here's the other side of this I don't want you to miss. When you are emotionally depleted, when you're running on empty because you've been suppressing and arguing with your feelings instead of processing them, you lose the capacity to sit with someone else's emotions. And your loved one has a lot of them: fear, grief, frustration, loss, confusion, anger. The person you're caring for needs someone who can be present with those feelings without flinching, without fixing, without shutting down. And you cannot do that when your capacity is already overflowing. But here's the beautiful flip side. When you learn to process your own emotions, when you stop fighting them with logic and start letting them move through you, you don't just feel better yourself, you become capable of being an emotional anchor for your loved one and your family. You can sit there with grief because you're not afraid of your own. You can hold space for their fear because you've learned to hold space for yours. You stop needing to fix their feelings because you've stopped needing to fix your own. That's not just better caregiving, that's a gift. So here's what I want you to take away from today. Logic is a powerful tool. I'm not asking you to throw it away, but logic belongs in the world of tasks, plans, and decisions, not in the world of emotions, grief, guilt, anger, and fear. When emotions show up, and they will, your job is not to outthink them. Your job is to acknowledge them, name them, give them a moment, and let them pass. That's not weakness, that's skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. And remember, emotions are a skill we can learn. If you've been trying to reason your way through your caregiving emotions and wonder why it isn't working, now you might know why. You weren't failing at logic, you were using the wrong tool for the job. The right tool is presence, acknowledgement, compassion for yourself, the way you would offer it to anyone else you love. We've now covered 3 of the 4 big emotional mistakes caregivers make: minimizing emotions, suppressing emotions, and trying to solve emotions with logic. Next time, we're going to talk about the 4th, and I've called it the coup de grace, the final blow, the one that makes all the other mistakes even worse. We're talking about aloneness, and I promise you, this one is going to hit home. If you want to go deeper with any of this, if you want tools, frameworks, and support as you do this emotional work, visit eliminatingcaregiverchaos.com. You don't have to carry this alone, and you don't have to keep fighting with your own emotions. Thanks for listening to Eliminating Caregiver Chaos, and I'll see you next time.